Hello, y'all, and welcome back to Project Development with Staff. I'm Fueled by OCHD, and today's episode will be going over my C Sharp, or the company's C Sharp library. It is designed to make development with C Sharp quicker and through the way it's set up is designed to make everything much easier to add to, expand, fix, because things are already broken down instead of just being a big giant wall of code. So I figured today I should probably run everyone through uh, two parts of the documentation side, because last episode you got to see in direct code. You got to see the actual code that's on this side. But that's only one part of the code as a whole, because we want to make it where everything's versioned. It's easier to maintain. That way we can continue to expand. Um, Unlike some things, with that, we're going to be working from, we won't keep things like, uh, to make it easier to move forward, we're going to reduce backwards compatibility, but we will also be providing um, a secondary setup which will fill that gap, because it'll make it easier to update your projects based on how the company's projects move forward. Um, I can't show that to you yet because I haven't actually added that part, because I want to get the documentation side done, because honestly it'll be quicker to build the application that is meant to automate and speed up the documentation side. So um, until I get that project development toolkit set up, um, it'll mostly be uh, development updates. That's what this D stands for, is a development version of an update. Um, and to expand as I'm going forward, hold on, I'm trying to get chat set up. Oh, let's mute that so I don't get an echo. Okay, sorry, I ramble a lot. I'm new to streaming, and I will admit, as part of my ADHD, um, attention can suffer, but I'm working on that. So I'm hoping as I move forward through this, um, as I continue to stream these, I'm hoping that I will get better and better at doing it. Um, I can't really script a lot of these because it will be constant progress. So each time will be different, and until I start working on a system, I won't really know what all I need to add first, because my mind works kind of front to back and back to front simultaneously. So I've got a clear picture of what I'm building before I start building things. Though it might not seem like it, because some parts are in chunks or only outlined a bit, so I can try to move forward. Um, but as part of that, um, Realms Projects runs especially in C Sharp, and I'm working on adding the same type of system to the Lua language, so I can do things like scripting in Minecraft through the CC tweaked, um, and I can also do Project Zomboid, and uh, my code will always be built using the same basic setup, though it will differ a bit depending on the language. Like, for example, in C Sharp, it's got types built in, so I don't have you don't have to worry about checking types and things like that. Whereas coding in Lua is dynamic, so you don't have type. You do have types, but the funkiness when you work in a bunch of languages, some of the weirdness, I call it weirdness, not everybody will, um, of jumping between things, is when you try to access typed objects in Lua, it gets real funky. Whereas at one time I built a system that you can build objects at the time that code gets ran, and it would function the same, but still use the same layout as I currently use. Hi, Mucus. Welcome. Thank you for being in another one again. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's see. Where was I? So yeah, and some parts will be a little weird to people that aren't used to it, but that's one part of me streaming this, is that way as I'm building, you guys will be able to have an understanding enough to use the systems, despite the fact they're going to be quite complex. I'm not sure if that... Oh, you can find it on YouTube, Mucus. All my streams will be uploaded to YouTube. I think you forgot that. Um, and you can now quickly find it by going through my Twitch about. I believe I added links there. That way it makes it easier. Okay, so the first part I'll run you through is I'm still working on it, and all of this part is still subject to change because the code over here that actually is meant to load it is not added yet. that there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that. Well, I can explain it now. It's it's not documented yet, but this will be. Um, so the processing system is actually a dynamic way. Let's pull this up. Processing. It started out as originally as parsing, which I don't know. You might not all know what parsing is, but it's taking text input and usually giving you something else, whereas my code is actually built to be able to process any type of input that is its functionality basically gets added. It's designed around having packages of chains, commands, and processors. Each one is designed to function a little different. Your chains are in charge of running, like, for example, one will be a chain that parses an object and gives outputs data that allows me to then turn it into text. Um, that's a summed up version of it. And then your commands will be things that are used to control how your processors actually run. Like, one example would be for each, um, a for each, um, and they run based on arguments, and they're also designed so an input of one or an output of one can be used as the input for the next. That way we can just keep chaining them along instead of having to, oh, I've got to process it down and then I've got to turn it back into an input and then process it some more. Instead, I just made it so you can pass inputs and outputs, and basically I want inputs only to be what's coming in to a given system, and then the outputs will be all the stuff that gets processed between the input and the final output. Does that make? I hope that makes sense. Um, and they're also built going along with the idea of making things smaller and more compact and easier to use. The system's actually set up so I will have a bunch of smaller systems. For example, a text system, um, and many others. And the final package will actually be built by copying them, the individual parts of a package, from the smaller systems. I hope that makes sense. Uh, so, okay, so that runs through that part. So first I'll run you through the documents. They're not final. It is in a custom format. It doesn't look like this one doesn't look as it will for some, because the way these definitions are designed to be used, won't require the, um, any additions to better handle it. Yes, I could have gone basic Johnson, but I wanted to make my own format because I'm picky about things. And it's my company, and I like that we have our own independent. So if somebody were to try to use our stuff and they threw my data to Basic Johnson, it's usually gonna go, what the heck is going on? And a basic security, and not too secure because it will be on YouTube outlined. But hey, gotta plug my phone in real quick. Let's see. So we have the project ID, which I went over the last time, and this is for the project definition. The project will start in a folder, and the data will be used by a in the progress project development toolkit. But right now I'm all manually doing it, and it allows me to build the code based on how it's being gonna be used instead of having to do it the other way around. So I'm kind of building both directions at the same time, like I said. And so not all of this is documented yet. I'm still on version 5, which is this documentation and stage and everything. So let's see. So we got the project ID, which is a unique identifier, which I went over the last one, the last video or last episode. The version is the current version of the project this file's for. The description, name, and then here we get to the sub-projects. This is a little bit different because it identifies a project, but it also identifies if this project controls the versioning of this one or if this one does. This makes it so updates to the toolkit will match the updates to the wiki. And that's mostly to allow the wiki to stay about the same. So if it doesn't match the version, that usually means it's out of date. And I do have to warn everyone that I am recovering. I had a lot of this stuff built and it was stored on a hard drive, but the hard drive failed. I still have the hard drive. That way, if I start earning enough from support from my users, I'll be able to recover it. My website's out of date because I stopped doing local services. And I switched up how I'm documenting things to try to speed everything up. Because I want to start making more progress quicker while being as flexible as possible with our projects. Because before I was going to just use C, raw C, and build all of this itself. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build part of it in C Sharp to allow me to get everything at a correct stage. And then I will start working on the C side, um, just so I can have a clean slate and I will be able to be more flexible with my code, uh, because I will no longer be bound by the C sharp um, basic layout of code. Uh, and many might be asking why I would do something like that. Um, I am I personally am self-taught. All my programming experience comes from teaching myself, watching people, and going from there. So, yes, at first, not everything will be perfect. It won't be amazing, uh, but as I move forward, it'll allow me to learn, understand, and build my own version of things. That's why you will never see any um, sorry about that, any third-party dependencies, with the exception of SDL2 and OpenGL. Um, Later down the road, when I get to building my own game engine, or actually the tool core will be an engine that the game engine will plug into and extend as part of a planned system for it. Extensions that will make the tool core more flexible. Okay, so that covers a project definition. So we'll come up to here, and like I said, this is ongoing. I'm still working at it, uh, and I'll get to the folder over here because yes, this folder matches up or uses this system and vice versa. Um, because uh, the changes system, I need to add a name part to this. I forgot to add that. But anyways, this system is the there we go. The project development changes documentation is designed to allow you to actually keep track specifically outlined versions that is designed for use specifically with the way we develop projects. Yes, some of this may seem completely overkill for some. Uh, because a lot of people will want to just use a bunch of third party and basics, but we want to build with teams and easier development in mind to allow us to push everything much farther. And our goal will be that it won't start the best, but as we move forward, bugs will be easier to find, easier to fix, because they're already going to be small. And and then so we've got the whole documentation for a system. This documentation keeps track of the project ID, the system, and then the ID for the actual system. These are not the same, and you do not want to put these at the end because they are designed to be used separately. Just like the feature ID is designed to be used separately, they are meant to be used as 3 points, not one continuous point. Like system IDs is meant to be able to quickly point you at specifically what project, or a quick basic idea of the project and the ID for the system. This allows us to keep systems for different projects separate in documentation and all that. Then you have a system version, which allows us to better track the code, and it'll be used with extensions and stuff to provide a more stable loading process. Extensions will use a lot of versioning to make sure that, hey, I use this specific version of a given system. If it isn't loaded in or is too low, then we need to have a warning about it or something. Then you keep track of the projects in your concept. So we keep track of the versioning to better understand how it's being handled, a description, and then its features are each documented separately. That way it can all be handled together. This will be used alongside your code and your versioning when the project toolkit is finished to quickly and effectively change projects, because what you can do is you can code the project in to the actual code, then the project toolkit will load that, and it can use that to tell you if you need to document a given system, if you need to add given system features to a given system, and it will automate the process of handling this whole section, and it will automate this whole process automatically. This process won't be as automatic, because what it's going to do is be like, hey, you added a new system, would you like to document it? then it yeah, and then it'll allow you to then be like, yeah, I want to document it, and it'll already have the IDs and stuff because they are going to be tracked in the code. This allows for more effective project management. Now, so that covers this part. So next we'll cover the versioning. And this is where we start to get into, whoa, that's not regular Johnson because of this. And what this is telling the system is, hey, this object is of this type instead of whatever is expected from this. With the exception of, it'll error out if this cannot be stored within this. That way it errors and lets us know, hey, we've got some weirdness happening. So you've got a new system. Of course, the first version of a project's going to only have new systems. Then you've got a system update, and there'll be some more. There'll be like content added for when we get into game development. There'll also be other things, and that won't make sense for like a C# project, but will make sense for a research project or something like that. So no, our project development isn't based only on there being hold on. Yep. Okay. And so yeah, like, so for content and other things, book projects, learning tutorials, things of other natures, it'll all be stored by this. And as I was talking about earlier, is well, that's not the right thing. That's a gobbledygook. Okay, so these wikis, when the project development toolkit gets finished, the wikis will be automated. It will be done by the project development toolkit taking your project information and building it into the given markdown tutorials, because we use markdown tutorials to provide y'all a stable and easy to use public place for keeping track of updates and all of that. And like can't show you one of those without it spending a while on it. So we'll skip that part for now. But I do have on my GitHub, you can look for, let's see, what is it called? Give me a second. So I can try to find the name of it. Aha! Let's see. Can I go from here to here? Oh, wrong place. That's not. How do I get to my chat? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to access my chat from. Actually, what I can do is edit my channel, add. Now this particular wiki is semi up to date, not fully. I need to go through and update it to the new setup for everything. That way the project management toolkit can actually take care of it. So I do apologize for it being a little out of date. There we go. Added that to my about me on my channel. That way you guys can take a look at it, because it'll help fill in some of the places I might not have explained things fully. But like I said, it is a little out of date, but you can get a very good general idea of what's currently happening on it. Okay. So, let's see. So, now then, do you have does my chat have any questions about what I've gone over so far? I'm gonna make this the end of this episode just so I can try to keep it from being too huge, because next episode will be me going through the code and getting what's all the features and systems that are in code documented and the version updated so it can show that yes, I've done all the documentation on it. So yeah, anybody got questions, comments, thoughts, anything? I'll take that as a no, so thank y'all for coming and stopping by. The next episode might be later today or tomorrow. I'm not quite sure yet, but I do hope to um, keep going with this because I'm actually rather enjoying this so far. So, last chance for any questions? Okie dokie. Uh, take that as a no. Um, have a pleasant day and see you next episode.